Today is December the 12th, 2017. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University, and along with me today is Stacy Delano with the Stillwater Public Library, and we are going to be speaking with Erma Anderson, and this is part of our Spotlight in Oklahoma project focused on the Washington School and African American community here in Stillwater. So thank you for coming. Let's begin with having you tell us when and where you were born.
I was born in Drumright, Oklahoma, May 22nd, 1936.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your parents.
My mother, Vera Hilliard, came from Texas to Oklahoma. My father, he came from Texas, from Oklahoma, but they were never married. And he moved to California until he passed. He came back to Oklahoma. And of course I was grown when he came back. But I was we were reared by a single mother.
Okay. And how did she make her living?
Well, she worked in Drumright at SOS Ellis Cafe in Drumright, and then when she came up here, she got a job at the university, and that's where she retired from the university for health reasons.
And what did she do at the university?
She worked at the student union as a maid, and that's where she was for years.
And that would have been in the 50s, 60s?
No. That would have been back in the early 50s.
Okay. So when the union was just new, or was just being built?
Abe Hessel was the director. Mm-hmm. And Winslow was the director in the hotel. Mm-hmm.
So when did you all move from there to Stillwater?
Well, I stayed in Drumright with my grandmother on my mother's side, and she had married and she moved to Glencoe. And then it was some while before I left. I wouldn't leave. My sister went, but I didn't go. I stayed with my grandmother, and then she came and got me, and then we stayed in Glencoe. And then we commuted from Glencoe to Stillwater on the school bus.
Wow, it's a pretty long drive, too.
Well, not really.
On the school bus?
Well, it was like on DeWitt's farm, so at that corner, that 9 mile or 10 mile corner that was there, and it was just straight down that dirt road. I don't know how many miles, because we were just kids. And then they moved further down the line, closer to Pawnee. So we went to school in Pawnee for a while, and then we moved back to Drumright, and then back to Stillwater.
A lot of different schools.
Yeah.
Was it always all African American students?
All black schools.
All black schools.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is to go to a white school.
Well, about how many would be in your class?
Well, back then it was in Cushing. We had to in Drumright. The school only went to the 7th grade, and then you had to either go to the surrounding schools, that depended on where you lived, or you went to Cushing. So we went to Cushing, and from the 8th to the 9th grade, because the schools were not integrated in Drumright. We only had a black school from 1 through 7th or 8th. Mm-hmm. And then you had to transfer to Cushing to all black school because they weren't integrated.
And did Cushing just go up then to which grade? Did it go all the way?
1 through 12. Yeah. It was an all-black school like Washington.
And was Pawnee similar, or what grades did it serve?
Well, they have a lot of Native Americans. So they had some of those, but predominantly black.
Mm.
So I don't know what it is to go to an all-white school, work in all-white businesses, yeah. But my daughter and the kids that graduated, moved from the 8th to the 9th, they all transferred up here to, it was here, the old.
Yeah.
the old school here. And then they transferred down there, the other school. Yeah.
What was the school called in Cushing?
Uh, mm.
I'm assuming
Cushing.
it wasn't another Washington, but
You know, I wanted to say that, but I can't. Right off at the top of my head.
we can look it up.
Washington Bears, Cushing. 'Cause I only went there one semester.
Okay.
And then I came over here with my mom, because I went back, and my daddy came home, and I went back and stayed a semester because he was home, and then I came back. Well, that's strange. I can't think of Cushing's.
It'll come to you probably before we're done.
Yeah.
Well, since you were raised by your grandmother, was she working outside of the home as well?
I never known my grandmother to work.
So your grandfather was in the home?
I never knew him. He died when I was a little girl, but I never did. All I ever saw him out there under a big cottonwood tree in the yard in a swing. And no, it wasn't a swing. It was like a old-fashioned iron bed, and he would lay out there up under that. So I don't remember. I don't even remember when he passed.
Well, what had brought them to Oklahoma?
That
Don't know. They just came.
I don't know. My mother had all this information and stuff in a trunk, and the trunk got knocked off in the highway, and all the important papers and her school papers and our papers were just destroyed. Yeah. And then when I finally decided to start asking questions about the family, it was too late then, because she started deteriorating, not remembering.
And what was her last name?
Hilliard,
Hilliard. Hilliard.
IARD.
And what was your father's name?
Emory Isaac Brown.
And then when you moved into Stillwater, where did you live?
We stayed with Elsie, Gloria's mother, for a while, until my mother came over here and got a job and moved in a house, and we stayed in the house right down there by the park where the dog pound, where they play ball. And it's a creek, and we stayed. Carrie Cook, I don't know, Carrie Cook and Big Boy Cook, they call him Big Boy Cook. They, was it Big Boy?
Big Boy Brown.
Big Boy Brown, but they call Cook a big name too, because he was a big man. Big Boy. But he was Cook. He was a cook. Carrie Cook worked for the sororities out here for years until she retired and then passed. But anyway, we stayed in that little, it was a shotgun house, but it's gone now. And they stayed in the back. They had a big white house over there behind them. And that's where we stayed until my grandmother passed, and then my mom moved into another house. And the house right down there, in fact, not too far from where I live, on the next corner on 12th, 11th. 10th, 11th, and Knobloch. That house right over on the west side. Jerome Shepherd kept those. Those was his homes, and we stayed there. And two of her kids, Bobby's kids, was born there. So we stayed there until, well, many years, until everybody was almost grown. And when I graduated, I married and moved on. And Bobby had moved to Oklahoma City because JD had a problem. He had health issues, and so she moved to Oklahoma City instead of trying to get somebody to take her to Oklahoma City every time he had to go to the children's hospital. So she just moved over there. And my mother stayed there until way later down the years, and then she moved up there, not too far from Mount Zion, in the house.
So what grade did you start in at Washington School?
Well, when I left Cushing, I was in the 9th grade.
9th grade. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 4 years. So you spent 4 years at Washington School.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a favorite teacher?
Oh, well, they were all, well, Lee Ward and Mrs. Ward, she was a librarian. They are from Drumright. And so they knew my mother. He taught my mother and dad when they, yeah. And so it was like family. And of course we had to do right, otherwise we'd get in trouble. Yeah. Yeah.
That news would beat you home, huh?
And then the exercise would take again at home. No doubt about it.
And what would that be?
Spanking.
Would-
Yes, yes. My mother believed in that discipline.
With a belt or with her hand, or what did she use?
Switches.
Switches.
Peach and elm switches. Braid them together and say hello.
Would you have to get them yourself?
Sometimes she would make us go get them. Yeah, and we would have our chores. She'd be working, and so when we come home, we had our chores. So maybe I would do my chores if I was to clean up the living room. Bobby was supposed to do the dishes and take care of the kitchen. Well, she liked to play around because she's the baby, you know. And so Mama wouldn't just chastise one; she chastised both of us. She never made difference in us. Never, never.
So
Eating.
Bobby was your younger sister. Were there
She's
other siblings?
Mm-mm.
The
There's
two
just the
of you?
two of us. Mhm. And she didn't make any difference in us, you know. She just didn't do it. Although we were half sisters. And she knew who her father was. I knew her mom. She knew her people. But we were never allowed to use that word half sister and be ugly with each other. Never. Never.
How much younger?
3 years.
So she would have come over and started in the 6th grade-ish,
Mhm.
around in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And her father's father was Colonel Jefferson from Bristol.
And what was her father's name?
Robert Jefferson.
Robert Jefferson. And was he at all in the Stillwater area?
No. No, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. No. They're down from Bristol, so he may have come up here, you know. I don't know.
Well,
I
did your mother and grandmother have a garden?
No, I don't remember Grandma having a garden. But my grandfather and grandmother on my dad's side did, and they lived next door to each other.
Did they?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So they all came from down south, and Grandpa Brown came up here on the Santa Fe Railroad. He transferred from down south up here.
He was working for the railroad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Until he returned in Drumright. Yeah.
Well, if your mother was working when y'all moved to Stillwater and you were already older, so I don't guess you had to worry about daycare or what you would do during the day when she was working.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
Yes,
We
yeah.
had our chores. We knew what to do. Come home. Don't play around. Don't sneak out. No. None of that. None of that.
Well, did you make friends pretty easily when you
Oh,
in
yes.
the 9th grade moving over? That's
Oh,
kind of
yes.
hard though.
No,
No?
because a lot of people from Stillwater would come to Drumright to the rodeo, the all-black
Mhm.
rodeo. Uh-huh. Yeah, a lot of people would come over there, you know, Pawnee, surrounding towns. Yeah.
So you kind of knew people already.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Will you tell us just a little bit about the all black rodeo or rodeo? I hadn't known about that.
Yeah. I don't know when it formed, but it was started by the Smith brothers in Drumright, and they're very well known, all over the state and in that area. Henry Smith, and I can't think of his brother's name, and they owned Henry Smith, and I can't think of his last name. I mean his first name, Bill Smith. So it was probably William. And they formed this rodeo with some more people there, Sun Turner and people like that was well in the community, standing. And it just started, it was a big thing. They had cowboys from all over. They had Clydesdales from California in the parade. It was a big thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's especially interesting because, at least in the 20s, Drum Right was kind of the hotbed for KKK activity.
Oh, I'd say I don't know anything about that.
So it must have
That I don't know.
lessened quite a bit.
I don't know. That's news to me.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was just because of all of the oil.
Right.
Well, that's before your time anyway,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Probably. But it was a really booming little town, There was a lot of people there, a lot of black people there, and Hispanics and Native Americans. Yeah.
Well, were there places you couldn't go?
I don't think there was a lot of clubs and things I don't think there was a lot of that downtown. Now they had everybody opened up businesses during the rodeo, because that was a big thing, because people come from all over the United States there to the rodeo.
Wow.
It was big, and they had cowboys from Texas and, different places, Mexico. Yeah.
In Drum Right, though, were there restrictions about where people who were in the black community could go into different stores or anything? Or was it all very open?
I have never known that.
And between the three communities then, Pawnee, Drum Right, I guess Cushing too, and then Stillwater, what would you say the biggest difference was in your experience of living in and going to school in the 4 different areas?
Well, in Drum Right, you had to get your lesson. I mean, we had our own community, but people had to work in the community, and there were Jews that owned stores and business, and blacks would go there and shop and get credit, and it was things like that. But there was not a lot of problems that I know of growing up, because I didn't have to work or anything in the community, And in Cushing, it was predominantly black in one section. That was just all black, and they had everything going on, businesses and what have you. But we weren't allowed to go to those places no more than where they serve food, get your food and get out, And then they had a place right there on the corner where kids would go. They would cater to kids and teenagers and sell candies and hamburgers and hot dogs and things like that. But other than that, we were just, my family, I don't know about other people, but our family was just in and out. And even my cousins and the living Drum Right, they were just in and out. As far as just staying there, no.
Was that the same way in Stillwater?
Stillwater was different. They had their own community, but like I said, it's the way we were not allowed to go to all these in and out places. Now there was segregation here. Now I did experience that, because where the Mecca Theater was down there by where the Mecca Theater. Okay, where that was, we had to go upstairs. We could not sit down in the bottom.
Yeah.
And it was just, small areas. And so we had to do that. And I have experienced going into bathrooms is white and colored. I have experienced that.
Here in Stillwater?
Right.
Do you recall, because that's been one thing of interest, we've been trying to determine if there's a specific place where they had it's specifically signed black or white.
They had them at the bus station, because we used to
bus
catch the
station.
bus station. Jim Smith, he didn't have a sign. But the word was passed around because he always had black people that worked for him. Jim Smith is Smith's Cafe.
Oh, huh.
And he set up a place in the back, like the back of here. And he had it set up like a dining area. And that's where blacks would go and get their food until here in the early years. I guess it's, you know.
And then you could stay and eat it there,
Yeah.
or if he had it set up for that.
Mm-hmm. And I remember where Hallmark used to be, right there from Shinworth and Green. You could go in there and order, because we did it for as kids, and get your food, but you couldn't sit there at the counter and eat. You had to get it to go. But kids didn't care about that anyway. It's the adults probably was interested in doing that. But kids could care less. I mean, that's my feeling.
And there were Skees
Diner.
Skeens.
SKEE.
Skeens Diner. That was down here on South Main,
I believe that's where it was.
where all the graffiti.
I'm not sure about that, but it might have been
It's right across from Boomerang.
an incident of where there was like a sit-in.
Oh, I don't know about that.
In
We
1954.
weren't allowed, if it was going on, we weren't allowed to participate in things like it anyway.
So you were a lot of times maybe didn't necessarily know whether people would treat you, how they would treat you, because you were kept at home and
We weren't kept, we would go, but there was just certain places we just didn't go, you know. But Mecca Theater we did, and the other theaters, I think they were. I think you had to sit back in the back if I'm not mistaken, but it was still in this one area. But you had to sit halfway back. But they changed that later on down the line. In Skeens Cafe,
don't recall.
well, we used to eat there, but I was grown there. I mean, you know, I don't ever remember going places like that.
So it's interesting though to hear that Drumright seemed to be much more integrated then of a community.
Mm-hmm.
And so would that be your impression that that was like just a more open place to live than say here in Stillwater?
I think it still is. It's more of a retirement town now, you know, because a lot of people that was there moved out, moved on. Mm-hmm.
So for the schools,
Mm-hmm.
how long did you say you attended the Pawnee School?
Oh, just a semester.
semester?
We didn't stay there very long.
Oh, how many, was it in kind of a clapboard type house, or what did the building look
Oh,
like?
the school.
Do you recall?
No, it was just kind of a old-fashioned. I think it was brick.
A brick.
Mm-hmm. I think it was brick, but brick long time ago. But yeah, we didn't stay there very long, just a semester by.
And you thought maybe there were about, you said Native Americans and Black students attended that school.
Mm-hmm.
How many people would you say were maybe attending at once?
Well, I don't know because we were young.
Yeah.
But in our class it wasn't that many. But like 2 or 3. They could have been mixed
Classes.
Yeah.
Pretty integrated families.
small.
Well, would you walk to school
Yes.
there? Close enough to walk?
Mhm.
What about here? Close
Oh
enough
yeah,
to
because
walk
we
too?
didn't stay. We just stayed a half a block down there to the school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you involved with other things like after school choir or that type of thing, activities?
No, here we had a course, and everything was done in school. In sports, no, because I'm not a sports person. She is. She was in everything.
And
but
did
I'm
they
not-
have a home ec class?
Yes. Nona Clay was the teacher, English teacher, rough. Yes.
A tough teacher.
Yes, she was. Washington School turned out some good people, educated people. But Washington School, you had to get your lesson. You couldn't play around like they do out here. You didn't have alternatives like that. You had to do the real thing. Real thing.
Well, when you first would get there in the morning, did they do like Pledge of Allegiance and prayer and
Yes.
all of that?
Yes.
Those things.
Praise the Lord. Yes, we sure did. And then on Friday we have gym. And then you go through the whole saluting the flag, prayer, song, yeah.
So gym just once a week.
Mm-hmm. No, you mean on Fridays. Yeah, they would be on Fridays, but each room would have, say their little prayer and,
You'd have PE or physical education probably every day, I would imagine.
I'm trying to think. I don't think, well, because I wasn't too physical. I wasn't all off into that, but I think we had to have PE. I'm trying to think who gave PE. I can't think of that. Who
Mr. Watkins
He was a history teacher.
and the football.
Yeah, but he was in sports. But he was our history teacher. Nona Clay was our English teacher and home ec teacher. Miss Hall was our typing and shorthand teacher, business. Mr. Ballard was shop for the guys. Yeah, am I missing? Math? Oh, Miss Benford was science and mathematics. Yeah. And you didn't play around. And in home ec, we had to have 4 years of home ec, straight across the board. Yes, you didn't graduate.
Girls and boys or just girls?
Well, there wasn't that many boys in home ec that I remember. I don't ever remember any boys in home ec.
Wasn't required for them?
Well, they probably took shop or something else. Mm-hmm. But home ec, we had to make a makeover before you graduated. You had to make a garment from Vogue magazine before you graduated. You had to take a pants set, a men's pants, and make over before you graduated. 4 years.
You learn how to put in a hem.
Yes, oh yes. And
Buttonhole.
Miss Clay's theory was, you sew up your darts, and don't you go another pace of nothing. You had to wait until she inspected, and if it was anyways crooked, she'd make you pick it out, and you better not tear it. Snag it, yeah. If you went on and got that done and went on and started your hem or seams down the side, no. She will make you pick every stitch out. And then she will tell you what to do. And then you sew it up. Don't go to that. Wait until she inspect that. And then yes, very stern.
Tough.
Yes.
Did that make you want to sew when you got home or not?
Well, I did. Yeah, I know how to do everything. And I appreciate it. In fact, during her lifetime, I would see her and I told her I appreciated her because, I'm married and, I knew how to sew buttons and iron creases. And, well, of course, my mother taught me how to cook and, from scratch, yeah. Yeah. No. No. This generation, no. Helpless. Right? Oh, I'm having them work done, so I don't have my teeth yet. But anyway, we're gonna get them soon if they ever heal up. But yeah, it was in Miss Benford. I mean, she math and oh my goodness, She was rough. Miss Clay, the English teacher, she was hard on doing your themes and thesis and oh yes. Yes.
So, and you're saying it's Mrs. Beneford, right? Is that what you were saying?
I think yes, Mrs. Benford. I think she was a Mrs. Benford once upon a time. Mm-hmm.
So, a female teaching science and math,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
That's pretty impressive for the time period. She was an excellent teacher, really knew her stuff.
Oh yes, yes, yes. All the teachers down there were, as far as I can remember, and I went 4 years. Yeah.
So a rigorous classes really were getting a good education.
That's right.
How would you compare that with when you were in school in Cushing?
Well, they were strict over there too. Of course, I just went a semester over there, but you had to get your lesson. But there are kids that fudge and everything, I remember when we had to take penmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, here, penmanship, right, right on the line. Yes, I mean. We didn't have a lot of electives. You could have an elective after you got your main subject. You had math, science, democracy, black history, American history, and a half a semester of each, which makes a whole semester. Yeah, for 4 years.
So they taught a class of black history.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I hadn't heard anyone say that so far,
really?
So that's
well, they probably didn't make it.
Good information.
Maybe I shouldn't say this, but maybe don't put that on. Maybe the people that you interview may not have gotten that far.
And it may have just been that we didn't bring up some of the exact classes,
Mm-hmm.
but that is a good part to learn that there was a class just on black history.
Yeah, black history, democracy, American history, and what else? Yeah.
Any geography in there?
No. Well, I think they would come under, no. That may have come down, I think, maybe in the lower classes.
Could
Maybe.
be. Or maybe part of history too, a touch of
Yeah.
it on that.
Did you have geography?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, that's kind of strange. Well, I imagine it came up under history, but I don't know a teacher that taught it, really. Because these were the teachers that I all know. Watkins, Hall, Ballard, Clay, and the librarian Ward. Yeah.
And what year did you graduate?
56.
56. And they integrated in
56.
56.
Very nice. So you were a part of the very last graduating class.
Mm-hmm. It was 6 of us. John Reed, Raymond Chenal, Christine Lindsay, Joanne Millsap, Herman Holloway, and myself.
So
And Marquita Simmons.
did you have a big, huge celebration for being the last class, or did you actually know you were going to be the last class?
Well, we had, like during the prom week, Cushing and Stillwater was rivalries, So they come over here one year to prom. And our last year, we went to Cushing. We dressed up and we went to Cushing, and that's where we had the last big prom over there. Mm-hmm.
And so you all knew that you would be the last class.
Well, yeah, that's the year they integrated.
And so what would that prom, tell us a little bit about the prom.
Oh, well, the prom, we all dressed up and we went to Cushing on the bus, but the Stillwater bus took us to Cushing. And, and everybody just, like you do at proms, just dance and refreshments and Then in the end, everybody said their goodbyes, and that was it.
Who was your date?
I went by myself. In fact, I was almost engaged to my husband, and he walked me to the bus. Of course, he couldn't go because he was too old. She don't like for me to say that about her dad. But anyway, he bought me a corsage to match my dress. It was big yellow, and he walked me to the bus, and that was it. And then we got married June 5th.
56.
Mm-hmm.
And what was his name?
Paul Anderson.
Paul Anderson. And did you make your prom dress?
That's what I wanted to know.
Oh, no way. No, it was yellow with chiffon and lace and halter top and lace all in a great big bow. And he bought a corsage, 3 or 4. That was yellow. They go around the wrist, yeah.
And where did you get your dress?
Oh, I think it was at C.R. Anthony's when it was done, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. My mom bought it, yeah.
And how much older was he?
8 years.
8 years. So
Mm-hmm.
had he graduated from Washington School
No, he
too?
went to school here, but he left and went to the military.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He robbed the cradle then, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And how did you all meet?
Oh, well, he lived here. This was his home, and I don't know, we were somewhere, I think down to the Rose Bowl Cafe, and we met and just started talking, and that was it.
And what would you do for dates?
Oh,
Where would you go? Things you would do?
he and I,
Uh-huh.
well, we didn't have too many dates going on because Mother still had to say so. And then when we talked about marriage, I thought that was a good deal to marry, but I lost some opportunities down the line by marrying so soon. I really did. But I don't regret it, because I wouldn't give $1 million for the experience that I had. And it has taught me a lot, which I pass on to my daughter and hope one day if she have kids, she'll pass on to her. Yeah.
So your sister would have been there. She would have had to go to Stillwater School.
Well, she did. She
had to
her
go.
picture's up there in the frame up there.
Did she have any trouble making the transition from Washington to that one?
No, I think the transition comes with the families. My mother just wouldn't allow a lot of things. You can go to school whether you like it or not. And that's what she meant. Where maybe this one over here may say, well, go up there and fuss and cuss and kick and stomp and, this type of thing. My mother just didn't have it. She just didn't have it.
Well, was church an important part of growing up?
Oh, yeah. We were always in church. In fact, we were baptized at the old Mount Zion way back then.
Before the move.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, way before the move.
So, do you mind if you recall telling us a little bit about the building for the original church?
It was.
Do you recall?
It was just an old frame building, but it was nice on the inside. They kept it up, and I can't think of the ministers before that because that was before my time. But Reverend Reed is the one that we were under. We grew up under John Reed, and of course John Jr. He and I graduated together. He pastors in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm.
If you were baptized there, you said?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Did they have a baptismal or did you have to go somewhere else?
No, I wasn't baptized. They had a baptizer, but we also had, one time, kids, I guess we were about 12 and 13. We all got baptized out here across from Freddie Paul's. Do you remember that? It was a creek. It was a little lake there. And I remember us going out there getting baptized.
So that's where you got baptized.
Well, I've been baptized 2 or 3 times. But just a group of kids. And we went out. I mean, that's where we got baptized there. But we got baptized in the pool down here, too.
Now, which pool do you mean?
They had a pool in the old Mount Zion.
There was a pool at Mount Zion.
Old Mount Zion.
Ah, like a swimming pool.
No,
No,
a baptismal
Oh, a
pool.
baptismal pool.
Baptismal pool.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. Just like they have up here, they have a baptism
Gotcha.
inside. Maybe a lot of people don't know it. It's behind the pulpit,
Well, once you got married, what did you do? Did you stay in Stillwater, or did you move, or what?
Well, we moved. We stayed in Stillwater a while, and Paul tried to find jobs. He was looking for the perfect job, and then he went to Tulsa and came back. Then he went to Wichita because he had relatives up there, and that didn't pan out, and he came back. Then he went to Colorado, and because he's got relatives there. And then I went up there and stayed a while, and he decided that wasn't a good idea, staying with relatives. So he brought me back, and then we both went back to Wichita, and that's where we stayed for a long time. Then we came back home and went to Oklahoma City. We had jobs over there. Then came back. So been here ever since.
And what year would have that been that you finally came back the final time?
Let's see, Renee was born in 1964. So we came back about, a little after that. Mm-hmm.
So the part where you might have been moving in different places was a relatively short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you all get married?
Here, at the courthouse.
At the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us about it?
Well, after he asked Mama if he could marry me, they had a long talk, and I was scared, I stayed in the bedroom, and I just wondered, what is she going to say? And then I went in, and we talked, and everything. The first thing he asked me, do you know how to make an egg custard? And of course, my mom gave the do's and the don'ts and the yeas and the nays, So, but we got married at the courthouse, and I had a little blue hat. I think I got it that was my dress I got for graduation. Mm-hmm. And I had a little blue, I went and bought a little blue hat and to match, and that's when we got married.
And were there people up there with you at the,
No.
or did it just the two of you were there?
Just the two of us, and the justice of peace. And
How had he asked you? How had he prompted the question?
he just said, well, would you marry me? And I said, well, I don't know. We have to talk to Mom about that. Because, I was still 20, but still, So here we are, 50 years later, and one offspring.
And so your daughter's name is Renee?
Delisa Renee.
Delisa
Sure.
Renee. And she was born in 1964 here in Stillwater.
Stillwater Hospital, the old hospital.
Do you recall much about the old hospital?
Oh, yes. Yes, it was nice back then, but this is nicer. But I remember you had to go down, when you come off the street, you had to go down that to go into the emergency area. And he made me walk all the way down. It was good for me, but I was so upset, because I had such a hard time trying to get this baby out.
He being your husband?
Okay.
Paul being the one that made you walk down?
Yes. He said, oh, you okay, you can walk down. But the doctor said, be careful. Well, you'll be okay, he said. But it was quite an experience for both of us. We had a hard time adjusting because we were married 10 years before she was born. Yeah, 10 years. So
we're
we had to set alarms and we had to do the whole 9 yards because we were not adjusted to, up all night and everything.
and diapers by hand.
Yes.
Cloth diapers.
Yes, wash diaper. He did it all. He could wash, iron, cook, clean, babysit. He did it all. 'Cause
Your
I
husband did?
Uh-huh. When he wasn't working,
Uh-huh.
yeah, he'd take her to the babysitter, which was grandma, his grandmother. So, yeah.
So that would have been unusual for the father to have
Really?
been that hands-on, right? During that
Really?
period?
I don't know.
I think that, mine
Really?
wasn't.
I think that a lot of women would have been very envious.
Yes, Paul could. I mean, when I was working and he wasn't working, because I always worked for the university, and he would put on, whatever we're going to cook. If you're going to cook a pot of beans and everything, he'll have everything ready cooked, and all I have to do is make the cornbread, make a salad, get the drinks, and that's it. Yeah, he was a good cook. He'd dress Renee, take her to the babysitter. Yeah.
And let's go back and talk about when you worked at OSU.
Mm-hmm.
What year did you start and finish that type of thing?
19 and it's 67, around 57 or 58. I used to work when we were in school. High school kids work catering and things like that. Well, I did that for a long time. Then after I got married, I worked in a hotel. I just started out working vacations and people off and all that. And then I got on full time. And then my mother worked over in the housekeeping department. And so I would go over there and help sometime. And then I finally got on full time. In between points, we leave and come back. I'd always go back to the university. And so one day, I was working in the housekeeping department. And I was looking out the window and saw the kids, and I just said, well, I just wonder, why do I have to keep doing this kind of work? I don't understand to myself, And I said, if I could just pass the test, maybe, I could maybe get a job over there to the library or Whitehurst over in the class. My mind just kept going back and forth. And I said, Lord, if you just let me just get a job. And I went and took the test. I had to go take a test. And then I put in my application. And then one day, my boss, he just said, they called over there for me on the job and said she needed to have Erma to come to Whitehurst right now. And he was so excited, and he said, you got to go right now, right now. And I went over there, and they gave me all the papers and the information and everything, and this job where it was, and it was at Public Information over in the classroom building. And I went dressed up and everything, but I had no teeth. I was having dental work done, and I was having all these was chipped and everything. So Dr. Scott was in the process of fixing teeth, and I thought, well, this is gonna blow it right here because I'm not looking up to par. But it didn't make any difference. They took me with open arm, and Bob McCullough was the director at that time. And then he took me around to introduce me to all the people. And then I said, well, I'll just move on to the next show. And the next day he called and said, if you want the job, you got it.
So,
That's it.
what were what sort of responsibilities did you have, like at the beginning?
Secretarial, but it entailed a lot. It entailed all the professors and dignitaries and the Board of Regents keeping a file on them, updating their files and make sure they have pictures and contacting people, doing news releases on mailing them out, honor roll, graduation, all of that. uh, sorority fraternity activities, pictures, everything. It entailed everything. Anything that happened on the campus, it entailed that. Dignitaries coming in, you know.
Any stick out in your mind? Any dignitaries that stick out in your mind?
Well, it was exciting with the presidents when they came. I've never seen anything like that in my life. You know, it was exciting. They were all on top of the buildings, but we were warned early that federal security would be coming and combing the building so they took everybody, they take everybody's pictures, names, and they say everybody just stay with your work. Keep doing what you're doing.
Which president?
Well, Nixon, Bush.
I remember Bush one
Mm-hmm.
coming here. I didn't know about Nixon.
Yeah, he came. And, and colonels, and they had people, you could see them all on top of the library, all on top of the student union, and they would be walking up and down our halls and going down the stairs and looking all in the ceilings. And, of course, everybody's on file. Everybody on the university's on file, with the federal, because all these federal people that was in here. Then the limos come through over there to Whitehurst. It was exciting. Yeah, it really was.
And when did you retire from there?
2004.
And how many years did you?
Actually, it's 40, but I worked for PIO. Communication Service for 39 years. 30, yeah.
Long time. You saw a lot of changes on campus then.
5 presidents, yeah.
That's a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Do you recall any, you all would have been kind of the place putting out all the information. Were there any specific incidents that stand out of being just a very tumultuous time, a very difficult incident that happened?
Well, there were a lot of incidents that happened, especially with students and, rape cases and, accidents and, things like that. Things that happened on campus with the parents and everything. Yeah, and then there were a lot of confidential stuff that I had to really keep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with everybody from Washington, D.C. to overseas to the Capitol to the Board of Regents, the state regents. You're dealing with all those people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some things you had to just zip it up. And when they were changing president, anything happened confidential on the campus goes through PIO. Goes through Communication Services. And once it hit the wire, that's it. So you had to be very, very careful of if you're sending something by fax or if it's going to either over the wire, ABC, CBS, and you have to be very, very careful.
Mm.
Yeah. And then we had a lot of work studies. And, I must say I'm fortunate and blessed, I guess, we would say, because I reference a lot of students that was our work studies that work with me, from Washington, D.C. to Conoco in Houston, yeah, New York, yeah.
You left an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't call the director, they didn't call the Natalie or Dr. Hamilton or the secretary or administrative assistant, they called me. Yeah.
And what was your title?
Oh.
Just a.
Well, they said don't say just, but
Yeah.
secretary.
Yes,
I've been
they'll-
secretary, I've been clerk 1, clerk 2, secretary 1, secretary 2, secretary 3. So I don't know where you put all of that.
Administrative assistant.
But they never
Covers
give
it.
me the title. Mm-mm.
The person who knows everything.
Mm-mm.
That's the.
Yeah. They didn't give me the title. And then after they started making changes when Smidley came in and See, we knew, at least I knew, that Smith was coming in before a lot of people ever knew it.
Mm.
Yeah. In those closed door sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things go on.
Were you here during Smidley?
Yeah, that was, and he had his, what was her name? They came in and just rooted out everybody. What was her name? Chacon?
Coleon
Yeah, you remember they had that accountant to come in here from Chicago?
consultant.
Consultant, don't you remember that?
Barely remember that.
Oh
yes.
my God, how could you forget it? I mean, she uprooted everything in these United States of America almost. I mean, in Oklahoma. I mean, she just went from school to school, department to department. Yeah.
Where was your office in that building? In the PIO building? Infirmary?
The first time it was in, on the east side. You could look out and see the street. Then I was in the main office, and then they moved me from the main office until it was in the other office, which that's where the Xerox and teletype and all that stuff was in, because I had to do so much, you know, graduation and all that kind of stuff. And if they had new professors coming in, you had to get all that information and made sure you get to all the newspapers. I had to go through all the newspapers, all the dailies, all the weeklies, surrounding states. Oh yeah, it was big. I spent a lot of nights for my family working. Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head, you probably had when the streaking was going on, you probably had to deal with some of that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Everything had happened out there on the campus. Yes, or something. One of the athletes could get in trouble or something like that, and they come back and they do a quick release, and it's got to be sent right now to this particular person right here. Nobody else, but this person need to get it. You know.
And that was mostly before computers too. You were typing on a regular typewriter.
At first we had a typewriter, but we got computers.
Like in the
down the
80s
line.
and 90s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got computers. Fast moving Xerox machine.
So your typing classes from back in Washington School paid off.
Right, and then I took a course out to Votech, and then I went over to the business college under Earlene Sikora and took a course under her. Yeah.
Hey.
Do you mind if I ask, when you're talking about marrying so young resulted in some loss of opportunities, are you talking about like with schooling and such?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes and no. I used to work for the Hostocks, and he was over in audiovisual. He was a teacher, and she taught music. And I used to work for them, just, housekeeping. And then when I got to graduate, they said, well, I told them I was going to marry. They said, well, we will send you to school, but we will not send you to school if you marry. It's one of those things. We'll make sure you got a job, you have a place to stay, and make sure you're in school. But I chose the other.
Well, when you were in high school, what did you want to be when you got out of school?
Well, I wanted to be a beautician, and then I wanted to take up nursing, and then I decided that's not for me either. But I really wanted to be a beautician. Yeah.
And who was your best friend when you were in school here?
Well, Gloria and I were real close. She and I were very close. We shared a lot. Yeah.
You practiced on each other's hair if you wanted to be a beautician.
No, we just shared a lot of closeness and talking and do things together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Was there a female other than your mother that you looked up to, like as a role model?
Not really. Mom handled it all. And we had to respect everybody. Yeah. We couldn't just walk up and just butt in your conversation and, well, this and this and no. Mm-mm.
Well, did she ever marry your mother?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she married a Johnson. Mm-hmm.
Before or after you were?
Oh, after we were grown.
After you gone.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a single mother all.
Mm-hmm. Well, she married
18
once
years.
before when they stayed in Glencoe, but that went down the tube, and she said, well, after, and we started growing up, we started developing fast, and so she said, well, I won't marry again until you all away from home, and that's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What was the favorite thing that she cooked that you liked?
Bread pudding. Yes, and rice pudding, yes. And she had an old skillet that was all bent up, but it was cured, and she would fry pork chops and a pork steak, and they would be the best. You could just cut it with a knife. I mean, pork. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or where would she do her grocery shopping?
Where'd she go?
Yeah, where did she get groceries?
Well, it used to be Humpty Dumpty's, which was IGA, which is Sprouts now.
Okay.
Do you recall Haskins?
Haskins Grocery? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to go over there and buy candy.
So, can you tell me a little bit about Haskins? I've just keep coming upon it, and I've never heard anyone really talk about Haskins.
Well, they just had that little store, and they sold things. Of course, kids were only interested in cookies and candies and pops and popsicles and stuff like that. Yeah.
But it was a full service with a butcher and.
Oh.
Or was it kind of smaller?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't remember seeing all of that, I don't know.
And do you recall, some of the kind of leaders of the community, people who everyone kind of really looked up to or followed or?
That had a say-so in the community,
Mm-hmm.
like the Slades, the Shepherds, the Ruby Cook, Thelma Connor, Miss and Miss Hicks, and who else? Mr. Thomas, Gloria's grandfather, had a lot of pull. Manuels, he used to be the black police officer. Big Boy Cook that had the barbecue place. And who else? I'm just kind of going up. The Vicks, they had. And who else? I'm just trying to go up and down the streets. I said Thelma Connor. She had a lot. And Big Boy Cook, which was right along in the Irvins. Miss Erma Brown and Big Boy Brown. They had a lot of pull.
Were there any incidents or events or anything that had to pull the community together? Was there anything like that?
Well, I think everybody was together anyway. I mean, as far as I haven't ever known the community be divided. Well, it's not that many blacks in the community now. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't say that it's divided. It's just as people have moved from one section of town to another section, and all they haven't moved out, they've died out, and if they haven't died out, they've moved on. So as a result, we don't have that many. Like in our area, we don't have, I don't think it's no more than, 5 people, 5 black families.
Yeah, just that kind of, I won't say Duck, but what's the street? West
Well, you
Duck.
just said from Duck
to Jefferson, 10th to 14th for our neighborhood.
You take from here, straight down the street, it's only 1, 2, 3 families, black families, or 2 families, black families down that way.
Yeah.
Then you go up towards our house, there's only Mr. Bolton and our house and Keith on that, and then Willie and him down in the next
Mhm.
Eleanor and them. So that's it. And over on 11th Street, 2 families.
So the community or I'll just say this, neighborhood now, much more obviously integrated. I was wondering once.
It's college oriented.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
Once integration occurred, were there any like really big changes that you noticed in Stillwater or in the community? And I ask this because through the research, one of the things we really noticed is our inability to find many articles at all having to do with anyone who was African American. And then once we hit integration, we find all of these articles. So it seemed like to me there was a shift.
Mhm.
Did you notice any shift?
Well,
Other than the fact that, the high school students were going to school together.
people just started leaving, probably for job reasons. Families started moving because, like moving to Colorado and Kansas, it's a lot of Stillwater people that could probably give you a lot of information from back that live in Kansas and Colorado, California, Texas,
So
Yes,
right
ma'am.
when we see the school being integrated, that's when people are starting to move away.
Right. Right. I think some of the older people started leaving anyway, because their kids moved on, but you saw a lot of it after. And the younger people around my age, they all left, And then after us, they're leaving, because the opportunity, not so much of integration, I think it's just because of the job market. There's no job. And this generation of young people, they want everything right now. They're not like when we're coming up, we will work our way up. They don't want to do that. They want it now. My high dollars right now. I'm not going to wait to get paid. I doubt if any young person, even Renee, I doubt if any person under me would work for what I used to work for when I first started work. Mm-mm. But probably you too, they're not going to do it. And as a result, they leave. She talk about it now, Just leave. Well, of course, she left. And when she left, she was a different person when she came back because of the type of living that she had to live, that she lived and got used to living when she was married and gone, So that makes a difference in the community. Mm-hmm.
Well, where do you consider home since you lived at so many different places? Where is home?
Well, this is home, but my real home is in Drumright, because that's where all my grandparents and mom and family, But this is home to a point. Yeah.
Where's your mother buried?
Here,
Here in Stillwater at
Fairlawn. And my sister and her grandbaby is buried out there, and then my husband is out there, and his mother, and I think some cousins is out there to Fairlawn. Yeah. And then his grandmother that raised him, he and his brother, is out to Sunset.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And another family member. But her kids are all buried in Colorado because that's where they live. Mm-hmm. Oh, and his Aunt May is out here. Yeah.
And today you still go to Mount Zion for church?
Well, yeah, I'm a member, but I don't go that much. Backslid.
Well, that's different from Lawson's Temple. It's two different things.
Yes.
And you were usually asked about the AME.
Mhm.
Just because we've been able to get so little information on it. And we've started getting a little bit more about some of the people who attended. And
Is anybody here that I think Gloria's grandparents used to go there, but I don't know if it's very many people.
and the principal, the wards, part of that church.
Maybe so.
And we just have never gotten very much information. So do you remember very much about that church?
Because I was always reared up Baptist, you know.
Yeah.
Renee was reared up, well, she's been in all churches. But Church of God in Christ Lawson Temple, she was raised up in there because her grandmother was a big Church of God in Christ. Paul grew up in Church of God in Christ too.
Oh,
So when you weren't in school and you weren't in church, what would you be doing for fun? What would you do with your friends for fun?
Oh, while after grown?
No, before, like in high school.
Oh, in high school.
In high school.
Well, we'd go to games and we'd go to sock hops, and during Halloween, the group of us all get together and get into a lot of devilment and go on uptown to the theater, to the movie, and come on back and pick up something to eat. Down to Brown's, Big Boy Brown's, he had a place where you could dance and eat barbecue and hamburgers and all that. Yeah.
Just for kids or primarily for kids, teenagers?
Yeah, he did.
And what would your mother do for that type of thing as an adult?
Well, I imagine she went where the adults go. Wherever, there wasn't a lot of clubs. They had in-house parties or whatever, But they would go to powwows. My mother and Elsie and her friends would go to Pawnee or Ponca City and the Perkins to powwows.
Oh, would they?
Yeah.
Now, were any of those families, did they also have members of the Native American within their family? Were they also Native American?
Well, see, I don't know, but I know my mother has traits. My husband his father is a full-blood Cherokee, and his mother. Yeah. And I know my mother is. I guess they mixed with Cherokee, but they just never delved off into all that, But the traits are there. And my grandparents come from the Deep South, so we know they mix with Creole and whatever.
A little bit of everything. I always ask this too. So, did your mother have chickens? No. Did your grandmother have chickens?
My grandmother on my dad's side
Had chickens.
They had turkeys and guineas and chickens and rabbits and a garden and these old bloodhounds and a possum grape tree out there in the back of the yard.
I'm sorry, what?
A possum grape tree.
No, what's that?
Grapes. They're the little tiny grapes that grow wild on the trees.
I had never heard of
In
it
the
called
country.
possum.
That's what they always told me, possum grapes.
And did
They're
they
little
taste
tiny.
did they taste like a regular grape?
Yes. But they're real small. You used to see them in the country, growing up the trees, growing up, and they leaf out, and they have just clusters of grapes. They're wild grapes is what they are, but they've always called them possum grapes. But Grandpa had one out there in the back of his yard.
And would he make jelly or wine or what?
Grandma made wine. She made grape jelly. She canned pears and peaches and plums. Yeah.
Good eating, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Did she have a smokehouse for pork,
No,
that sort of thing?
no, Grandma, they didn't have that. He had a lot of chickens and guineas, and I don't never did see a turkey, but yeah.
Chickens?
Mm-hmm.
Chickens, yes. I always usually ask whose job was it to kill them, your grandmother's or your grandfather's?
Well, my grandmother on my grandfather on my mother's side, they didn't have it, but on my grandpa, on my daddy's side, I guess they took turns killing them. I don't know. We stayed next door to them, so.
You didn't have to watch or witness any of that.
Mm-mm.
It's interesting how people answer that. There's always a method, and there's always one person that's in charge of
But
doing
I've seen
that.
my mother. They have bought live chickens. Her and her husband, and they kill them, wring their neck, and throw them out there and let them flop around. Yeah. And then we would have to dip them in hot water and pick them. Yeah. They've done that. But they didn't raise them, they bought them. Mm-hmm.
And where was the dairy? What would you do for dairy?
Here,
Uh-huh.
dairy was down there behind the nutrition. I think it used to be Midwest or, the dairy, it was facing the east, facing the lumber yard. The lumber yard was across the street, right there on the corner.
Were there deliveries though?
Yeah, they had delivery. I remember they had
to your
delivery.
house. You would. That's how you'd get like your milk and butter and stuff.
As a matter of fact, the guy used to deliver. He used to he ended up being police chief. Ralph. Well, I can't think of his last name, but his little he was on the police force for years, and he used to deliver. Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm. In fact, I used to work with him at the college in housekeeping a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, even did you walk to work, or did you have a car?
Well, we used to walk to work.
Take it close enough.
Some more
to do
ladies, and remember we'd walk because we didn't stay that far. Straight up, not blocking you there at the university. Mm-hmm. But when I married, we had a car. Yeah. At first we didn't, but we got a car.
Been a pretty good 80 years.
Oh yes. I wasn't traded, had some bumps and knocks, but overall,
Been out of the country 5 times.
well,
Out of the country 5 times.
yeah, oh well. Yeah, well, I went to, we went, when she was smaller, I would take her places. I would go to the National Baptist Convention. That's how we did our traveling. Because you could stay in 5-star hotels and pay a fee, and you don't have to worry about a whole lot. And so, ever since she was 3 years old, we've been taking her to the convention. With Gloria's mother started us doing that. So we just did it every year, And then when I went to Florida, Miami, we went to West Palm Beach, and then we went over to the Bahamas, one Freeport, which was a day, but Nassau, Bahamas, Paradise Island, we stayed over there the whole 4 days. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it was nice.
That's a good conference. We need the Oklahoma Library conference.
Yes, it
Where else
was
have
nice.
you been? Where else have you been?
Oh, to Mexico. Oh, Mexico. Pedroneros. I guess I'm pronouncing it right. Pedroneros.
Sounds good to me.
Then we went to Glorieta to a church women's conference one time. We went over to Santa Fe. Then I went to, the last convention I went to was in Buffalo, and then I went over to Niagara Falls. I just lived over there. Every time they said, the bus is coming, I'm gone. Me and my friend.
Canada.
Yeah, into Canada, Niagara Falls. Yeah. We went on the American side and the Canadian side.
It's a sight to see, isn't it?
Oh my
Beautiful.
God. Oh my God. It was something to see. Ah, it's just so romantic. Yeah. She didn't get to go, but it was nice. Yes. I wanted to take the boat ride, and I got on there. I inched my way down to go buy the ticket, and then the boat did this over there. It had a bunch of people, and I could just see this thing breaking apart. I changed my mind on that. Then I was going to ride the crooked bus. That bus looked like it was going to fall over. And I got there to buy the ticket, and my other friend, Clara, Vic, and her husband, and I looked, and I said, this thing could just topple over any day. So I scratched that. Everything I scratched. I just could not do it. I could not do it. So that took care of my Niagara Falls. I just sat there and just watched the, the sprouts, the water sprout up and everything. Yeah. But that was a fun trip, Buffalo. So, well, I didn't see Farrakhan, but I saw his falls, and that was just a sight to see coming down the sidewalk. I mean, that was really something to see. But they charged $25 to go in to hear him speak, so I didn't want to do that at the hotel where we stayed. Yeah.
Got to see Cochran,
Who?
O.J. Simpson's attorney Cochran,
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Cochran.
Well, we see, yeah, Johnny Cochran. I got to see him, and I got to see the New York garbage people when they were on strike and everything. That was just something to see too. They had them all at the convention. Al Sharpton. Who else? What's the lady's name that always wear the big hats at the White House? She was there. Oh, I can't think of her name. Her daughter spoke in Florida. They wear all those different hats.
I know who you're talking about, but I
But I
can't
can't think of her name. Well, her mother was there at the convention because every time you see her at the White House, she's got these big hats matching from head to toe. So we got to see her. Oh, I've seen a lot. Bobby Jones, we got to see him. Johnny Cochran was something, though. That was just something to see. Mm-hmm. And he was a wonderful speaker. Oh my God, he was. And who else have I seen? I don't know.
Jesse Jackson,
Oh,
Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Jesse Jackson be at every meeting, every convention. So we've traveled around several states, from Missouri to St. Louis to Cleveland,
Got to see
California.
Johnny Mathis.
Yeah, Lena Horne. Went to the racetracks. That was just something to see the people. I didn't get out of it, so yeah, I've been around several states.
I'm always glad to get back home.
Oh yes, yes. That trip to Florida, Miami and West Palm Beach. We went over to the Bahamas and Freeport, and we saw where Sammy Davis Jr.'s golf course was and all that. Yeah. Hollywood, we went to old Hollywood, New Hollywood, Disneyland. Where they make all these movies and
Universal Studios.
And then the farmers market, they say you can see all the movie stars, just go there. But they were all camouflage, You can. Renee claimed she saw 2 or 3 of them. So we went there, and we brought her up halfway decent, at least I think.
So what's left on your bucket list?
Oh, I don't know. I'm so feeble now until I don't know. I'm not traveling too much. I used to go to the Grand Lodge, Eastern Star, because I joined Eastern Star. But that's a hassle anymore. Everything is a hassle now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a hassle. But I've done my fair share. I've enjoyed life, and I've brought Lisa, me and Paul, we brought her up to enjoy life and to respect people and be kind to people because you never know who you need.
Well, we've covered a lot. Is there anything else you want to ask, Stacey?
You've given me a lot of new information. I appreciate it.
Well,
Anything
good.
else you want to add?
No,
Well,
no.
My last question is then, how do you want to be remembered?
Just remember me as being as kind as I can be, and I have been, and I try to treat everybody the same. I see no color, because I've been around all types of people all my life. When you work for the university, as long as I work, you come in contact with any and everybody. And working with young people has taught me a lot. And young people that's my thing. Really, I can just take up time with young people, And they all seem to love me. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But, I just want and hope my family and my immediate family to carry the trait on because, yes, you get mad and you get evil sometimes, but to just carry that torch all the time, no, that's not me. That's not me at all. Mm-mm. And of course, I've had my ups and downs, good, bad, good part of the marriage, bad part of the marriage. That's part of life, that's just life. It took a while to learn it, but it didn't take me long. After you married about 8 or 9 or 10 years, it don't take long to kick in. It don't take long to kick in. And then when you start having a family, that's a different story. You have to change your whole way of thinking. And you
But
have,
her husband was Native American.
yeah.
He was Native American.
She like,
Cherokee and Creek.
she liked to tease me. But, I just want to be remembered that I was a kind-hearted person. And if I could do anything for you, maybe a lot of times I don't have money to give, but maybe a kind word or do something, which I find myself in those situations right now, even with the Bailey family, because they need help. And I'm always giving advice, whether they take it, but that's what I would do, And that's what I would expect your people to, we don't want to get off into that.
Well, then we'll close by saying thank you so much for coming today. It's been great.
Thank you. Thank you.